What is up, guys? Welcome to the third episode of the Paper and Purpose podcast. I'm Ryan, and I absolutely hate the feeling of survival mode, the mode of living paycheck to paycheck, and I want to help people escape so they can live fuller lives. This is the podcast where I gather the gems about money and the purpose behind making it from the greatest minds I can find to help people escape survival mode. Today's guest is an entrepreneur, coach, and business owner, Preston Brown. He runs over a dozen businesses doing $180 million in revenue. And I can't wait to dig into the wisdom he has for us today. So, Preston, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time today, brother.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, Ryan. It's always fun.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. So just kind of give people a brief overview of a couple of the businesses that you run and kind of what your day-to-day looks like.
So day-to-day looks like what you generally see on TV for somebody that is a wealthy prick that you don't like. Everybody loves to judge the story by the ending. I'll tell you the story from the beginning if you want to hear it, because the day-to-day doesn't always look like that.
I'd love to hear it. I think it's pretty important for people to hear that transition.
Yeah, businesses, we've got 18 of them now. I like
18.
going into disrupted markets. We built a real estate company after the crash of 2008. We started a travel agency and event curation business during COVID when everybody else stopped and got terrified and didn't realize. And by the way, like, if I'm your third podcast, let me tell you what. You know how to get money, bro? You want to get followers? Get attention. Say shit that is going to trigger stupid people. Okay, so I promise to offend all of the stupid people that listen to this. And by the way, if you're one of those stupid people, like for all of his listeners or future listeners out there, I'm going to show you a way to get smarter, okay? Because I'm going to talk about real, raw, authentic, controversial shit you're probably not going to like if you're one of these woke pussy greenies that like gets offended by everything. Watch. All you got to do is you take your finger, okay? You take your finger and you go like this. Okay. Once you've done this, you're not going to have virgin ears anymore, so you'll be able to handle a lot more. And then we can have real conversations. Now, why am I saying this? I heard in your intro that you're doing your third podcast, right? Let me tell you something. Money follows attention. A lot of different podcasters that I've seen out there that are like young startup guys like you, and you just seem really nice. I mean, I wanted to come and like do something and help a guy that's starting out and launching himself. But a lot of these podcasters are trying to be politically correct. Go follow the people that are the best. Joe Rogan is not politically correct. He asks the best questions. Ask the hard questions. Ask the big questions. If race is in the news, talk about race. If inflation is in the news, talk about inflation. Talk about the shit that pisses people off from a neutral standpoint and take people anywhere they want to go with it while leveraging a marketing grading scale formula where you can utilize attention, because money follows attention, to build your brand. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. You know how you build your brand? Haters. Haters. In fact, one of the reasons I'm starting your podcast this way, I want all your haters to follow me. Like, if you have haters, I want them. They blow up my algorithm too. Like, I love the dumb people that sit in their mother's basement and expense their time, the most valuable fucking asset they've ever had, doing clickbait and attacking people that are trying to help people. Like, you're opening this podcast, you want to help people, you want to solve the money crisis, and you're going to get haters. And I hope I get you a few, and I hope I can share them with you. So money follows attention, right? You need to celebrate every single aspect of attention that you can get. If it's authentic, if it's credible, if it's real. If it's bullshit, then question it. And honestly, questioning it will get you controversy. It'll bring out current events. It'll do all that. And you'll embarrass the stupid people that bring the bullshit information. And that'll make listeners have fun too, because they like the controversy, right? So you win-win either way. If you want to be the knight in shining armor, slay the dragon. Go for the hot topic. So I'm giving you permission on this podcast. Hit me right where it fucking hurts. If you can, challenge me. If you can, let's create some entertainment for your viewers. And you can challenge me on anything, man. There's a lot of hatred around people with money right now. You know, I've heard in the news that I'm no longer a white guy. Apparently now I'm just privileged, right? So, like we changed the name of white to privilege. Like, I've literally heard this. Like, we were like, we should stop racism. Let's rename white people. It's like, really? That's a dumb fucking idea. Hey, you know how we cure hate? Let's add more hate. That's fucking stupid. Hello? You know? But And I don't mind talking about real shit, which is why like people like you have followed my brand and seen that stuff. So I hope we trigger a few folks and get them for you. But like my story, to give you mine, let's see. Gosh, I've been on like 10 podcasts in the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to go through the 3-minute version.
Okay.
When I was 7 years old, my dad wanted to open a business. He wanted to set our family free. We lived in a trailer park in Cañoncillo, Texas. We were fucking broke. And my dad decided, I'm going to follow the American dream, man. We're going to, open a business, make some money, buy a home, do all these things. Like all the big dreams that everybody has that very few people ever reach. Okay. And my dad, he was a phenomenal man. He was 6'4", star football player, member of Mensa. If you don't know what that is, it's an organization of geniuses with super high IQs, right? He was an inventor. He was a metallurgical engineer by trade, but not education. So he never made more than $35,000 a year in his life working a job. And he had a business all of about 3 or 4 months. And the reason I say that is he had no idea how to bill. He had no idea how to collect. He had no idea how to charge. And when he opened his business in the little shed next to our house in 110-degree El Paso heat, my dad went to work. And he was making stuff for all sorts of folks. He was probably pricing too low. He didn't know how to collect from people. He was just a heart-centered producer. He was making shit. Well, of course, like always happens, anytime you go after any opportunity in life, something goes wrong. My mom lost her job, and money dried up real quick. And the fight came, and there was a lot of negative words in a family that normally had tons of love. We didn't have money, but we had tons of love. And when the fight came, I do remember these words. My mom said, a real man can feed his family. If you're not going to go collect that money you owe, don't come home, you're not a real man. And to me, that meant that I might lose my dad. So I went with my dad. I got to be the charity piece. I drove with him in his old Ford truck. We drove up to the house, not far from my house now, the guy that owed him a lot of money, done a lot of work for this guy. And I watched this guy, all of about 5'9", standing next to my 6'4" father. I knew it was going to happen. My dad, he could kill this guy with a napkin, right? Like, we're going to get our money. Like, we're going to collect. We're going to go home. Everything's going to be good. My dad's going to have his business. We're going to have the American dream. All the shit he'd been talking about for years before he opened. It didn't go that way. I watched my dad go from demanding to asking to begging to groveling. I watched my dad settle. I watched this man manipulate my dad with money, and at 7 years old, I felt hatred for the first time in my life. I'm glad I didn't have a gun at that moment as a 7-year-old because I probably would have killed him. I remember my dad settling. We took pennies on the dollar of what he was owed. We drove back down to the local grocery store, Smith's, and I got to ride home with a box of ramen noodles on my lap. We didn't say a word. My dad made a decision that day. He gave up on all of his financial dreams. He went looking for a job the next day, and he decided to remain my mother's husband and my father. There was that much love in my family. He gave up on his dreams to still be my dad. But the scar that left on him, the wound that it probably left open because he never hit his financial dreams, also opened a wound in his 7-year-old son. I mean, it's biblical, man. Sins of the father is the sins of the son. And between that lesson that he gave me and my mother being a psychology gal, like she studied psychology, went and got a degree, went and got a decent job teaching school, and eventually became a counselor, pulled us out of poverty, we became middle class. I got to see the education rise up, but I also got to hang out with all of my friends in school, and I had a bunch of Jewish friends, and I'll tell you one thing I love about the Jewish culture, they teach their kids a financial education, something the rest of America doesn't fucking teach, which is really stupid. Like, we at 8 years old are very happy to have you have a gender conversation, but we won't teach you how to write a fucking check by the time you're 18, or how credit cards work, or what compound interest is. I mean, really? Come on. Like, oh my God. Like, we are so fucked up on our priorities. Anyway, back to the story. Pardon, I got to trigger some of your haters. So, back to the story. My mom used to always say, there's always a game. There's always a game. Everything has a formula. Figure out the game, you learn how to win. Figure out the game, and you will learn how to win. Okay? And so this, to me, it may be very transactional, especially like with my dad's teaching, where money became God. Money became my father's master. There's 2 ways money can be your master. Thinking it's everything and being a slave to it. I was not going to be a slave to it. I wasn't going to be controlled by money. I was going to control money. But in a way, that was a reverse tactic that money used to control me. I went out, I opened businesses, I figured out formulas. I became fairly wealthy. I was probably worth, I don't know, 10, 15 million bucks. Well, 10, 15 million bucks has turned into a hell of a lot more when my dad gave me the next lesson. I figured out the game. I figured out how to win. I opened companies. I conquered fucking industries in my town. But in 2019, my dad went to sleep in his favorite chair and didn't wake up. There wasn't a game. There was no way to win. There was no transaction I could do to get it through this. I've never lost love. And it completely shifted a paradigm. Money was not the meaning of life anymore. Love was the meaning of life. And moreover, not losing love was the meaning of life. And I started developing processes and formulas, still using the transactional process, but to develop heart-centered business leadership where we could move the needle for anyone by helping them focus on what their real purpose was, what their real passion was, how they can find the four cores of their human experience: faith, family, fitness, and finance. Because if we know progress equals happiness, progress is moving up, right? Well, just like the fingers on your hand, faith, family, fitness, finance, if I put an anchor right here on family, and I hold this, these fingers may not be the same thing, but they're tethered to one another. Just like faith, family, fitness, finance. So you're not going anywhere. And what we generally do now, like, because honestly, when I exposed faith in my life, and I stopped living in scarcity, I stopped thinking everything was about a transaction, I stopped being this corporate raider, and I started opening business with a servant-hearted idea, stepping in and figuring, how do I serve the customers? How do I serve the employees? How do I serve the lenders, vendors, trades without diminishing myself? There's nothing wrong with me making a profit too. If I took a risk, I should have a profit. But how can I create a better opportunity, not just for me, but maybe everyone that we do business with? How can we create win-win transactions? And it was this beautiful journey over the last few years because it gave me formulas for creating systems that allowed for heart-centered business operation in an ethical way that compounded money. I mean, at that point, I had companies that were making me, $1 million a year. Now I have the same companies and they're making me sometimes $2 or $3 million a month. Okay, like when you get out of your own way and you start trusting. I mean, if you look at just the word believe, you look at the word believe. You know what the roots of the word believe are? Be, love. Be, love. What happens if you have a negative belief? Maybe you need to relove, or lift up and over because you've got something you need to overcome, right? There's a little adversity, there's an obstacle, you got to overcome it. So that's the story. That became the journey and my purpose and my passion. I mean, look, now I got 2 airplanes, I got 18 companies. I'm investing in another company right now. I'm buying assets weekly, sometimes daily. I'm not afraid of inflation because guess what? I own hard assets, and guess what they all do during inflation? They all go up. Rich people don't hurt during inflation. I hate inflation because it screws the poor, it screws the middle class, it screws the economy. It doesn't screw wealthy people. Politicians do not even understand that this inflation, it's literally a misalignment between 2 things, supply and demand. Normally, because of manipulation, due to this third thing, the invisible hand called government manipulates supply and demand, right? So then you have radical inflation. Employees don't know how to do it. We're going to come up on a time over the next 10, 20 years. There's going to be a huge resurgence of small business in this world. Tons of new people are going to say, you know what? I can't afford to be an employee. I can't afford to be the last person to benefit, which means the first person screwed and the last one to catch up by being an employee anymore. I need to find a side hustle. I need to develop a business. Hey, you know what? My boss does XYZ. I could probably go independent and do XYZ better and maybe cut out the middleman and get paid a lot fucking more. And so I want people to be able to do that, but without having to go through that soul-sucking transactional bullshit that I went through for 10 or 15 years. That's my purpose. People judge stories by the end. They don't look at the beginning. So what questions do you have, brother? How can I add value to you and your future listeners and your listeners now?
That's a lot to kind of follow up on. The first thing that comes to mind is for that person that's starting to have those thoughts about, I'm barely making ends meet. I don't know how to even come up with the capital to take advantage of maybe some of the dreams or business ideas that I have. What words would you have for that person that's starting to kind of wake up to the fact that they can't live on just their 9-to-5 alone, or they're going to have to start a business? They're going to have to do something different. What's the best thing you can say to them?
So your question is, how do I come up with the capital is like one of the first thoughts, and you're a young guy, so I'm gonna smack that down real quick. You don't need capital. Yeah. That is such a bullshit fucking lie. And I hear it from nearly every person that wants to do a startup company. And you know what it is? Needing capital is an excuse not to start for those 2 weeks to get going. And if that triggers people, message me on Instagram, challenge me with a fucking question. I'll answer your question. But you do not need capital. What is a sale? Here's a simple hack. Millionaire secret. What's a sale? What do you buy? What do you buy? Anytime you've ever bought anything, do you buy a solution to a problem you had?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you own a home, you would have had a problem of not owning a home, being homeless, renting, paying somebody else's mortgage, building equity for them instead of you. You can do it for yourself or you can do it for somebody else. Why the hell wouldn't you own a home? Especially if the cost-benefit analysis says it's in your favor. You have a problem if you don't have that. Somebody building them a home solves their problem. What happens if somebody has a diamond mine right here and somebody else has a well and there's nothing else for 1,000 miles? We all think diamonds are really fucking valuable, right? But guess what? If we're trading, that motherfucker needs water a hell of a lot more than I need diamonds, so I can have as many diamonds as I fucking want for one glass of water. Supply, demand. What is their problem? Is the sale the solution to the problem?
You say when you say your wealth changes whenever your thinking changes. Can you talk about some light bulb moments that you've had aside from a couple of the ones that you've already mentioned? Just like when you were 7, kind of how that stuck with you. Anything else that comes to mind? Any books you've read?
I'll give you plenty of books. If you're not investing in your mind and reading, like leaders are readers, like period. I've never met anybody who is wildly successful who doesn't read. If you find me that person, they're an anomaly. There may be the exception out there that proves the rule. Like, I hope somebody messages me and says, I'm that exception. I'll say, good for you. Don't share that secret. Because it'll fuck everybody else's life up. So everybody should be definitely reading. I love the book Who Not How. I love the book, what's Eli Goldratt's book? He wrote several books, but The Goal is my favorite one of his. It talks about flows of capacity, theory of constraints. He's fantastic. I love Think and Grow Rich. I love Grant Cardone's The 10X Rule. Even though I wouldn't apply that all the time, when you're starting up, you have to apply it, right? Mm-hmm. We can go through. I can email you a list of a couple hundred books that I've read that just all of them life-changing. And here's the thing, like, if you're not putting something in here, somebody else is. Like, we have an information age issue that you get 5 to 50,000 commercial impressions daily. If you're not taking up your data consumption ability consciously, somebody is subconsciously programming you. Okay, let me give you an acronym. BLAME is an acronym. Being lazy and making excuses. Every dumb fucking politician, and poly means multiple, and ticks means blood-sucking arachnids, wants you to talk about something, right? The Republicans and the Democrats want you to talk about gun control on different sides of the issues, right? Some people want you to talk about whether kids should have their genders reassigned at 8 fucking years old, all right? Like, some people want to talk about abortion. Some people want to talk about this. Look, I'm not saying any of these aren't important topics that should be voted on and discussed and all this, that, and the other. But how many people are literally giving hours and hours and hours of their day to shit that doesn't affect them? I walked into a coffee shop the other day because I like coffee. I sat there drinking coffee, doing some phone calls on and off, and every time I was between phone calls, I listened to 3 guys yelling at each other about abortion. You know what none of them are ever going to fucking have? None of them.
Abortion.
None of them. If they do, look, I know the Democratic Party wants to say, oh, no, it's a birthing person. It's still a woman, motherfucker. Okay? If it's a birthing person, it's a woman. If you don't believe that, you're an idiot. Okay? The word retarded means held back. Okay? Let me tell you what. That's literally the dumbest shit I ever heard. But these 3 men sitting there arguing at a coffee shop. You know what I said? I got up and I was like, get a fucking job. Get an opportunity. Do anything you fucking can, because all of you are losers. One of them sat there and accused me. They were like, hey, well, we hear you on these phone calls bragging. I was like, bragging? What the fuck are you talking about, bragging? I'm talking about my day, bitch. They're like, no, you're bragging. I was like, no. Now, see, that's the difference between a winner and a loser. A winner talks about their fucking day. A loser thinks it's bragging. That's because your day sucks. Because you're going to spend hours talking about some bullshit you're never going to fucking do. Who's a fucking moron?
How do we flip more of those people over to the other side? I feel like victim mentality or entitlement, I feel like it's ravaging this country. How do we switch more people over to the other side?
Trigger them. Everyone does everything for emotions, right? Like, I remember all the masked Nazis, coming out in droves over the last few years, right? Where are they now? Like if you're the guy wearing your mask in your car alone now, you look like a complete fucking idiot. Which means every time you went out and act like a narcissistic asshole over the last 3 years over your mask that now science has proven didn't do shit because every cloth mask blocked only items that were 4 microns in size or larger, and COVID is one. In other words, it blows like through a mask, like air goes through a screen door, and you were being a mask Nazi walking up and down. Triggers stupid people. People learn one of 2 ways, pain or pleasure. Stupid people learn by pain. Trigger them more and more. They just need more pain. Eventually they'll get to a threshold, and they'll realize maybe I should be a conscious, free-thinking human being, and I should have real credible thought. Like, and they'll stop blaming anyone. Like, the only people I'm ever prejudiced against is the stupid, okay? There's literally a class of people that is letting information get put in because they don't think for themselves, and they're the stupid. There's only 2 ways to pain, Ryan. You know what they are? One is ignorance. Ignorance is learning, okay? Ignorance is learning because, hey, I don't know that if I do that thing over there, it might hurt me, it might help me. I go try it, I find out it hurts me. If I learn, I don't do that again, right? But I was ignorant the first time. I didn't have an understanding of it. I tried it. I took a risk. I was a risk taker. Didn't work out. I now know better. You know what stupidity is? It's a very similar process. Only the difference is, hey, I have done this before, or I'm aware of this because somebody else has done this before, and it always hurts. I'm going to do it anyway. If somebody doesn't like being angry, doesn't like being sad, doesn't like being depressed, but chooses those emotions even though they don't like those emotions, then they're not thinking for themselves, they're triggered. They're not consciously aware, they're triggered. If they're triggered and they know they don't like the emotions, that stupidity needs to compound for a while till it hurts more and more and more, and they suffer more and more and more, and then eventually they'll hit a threshold. And when they hit that threshold and they have enough pain, they'll learn. And they'll say, hey, maybe I should think for myself. Maybe if I go feed my mind, which is where we started this question, and I put as much good information into this field, and I plant as many good seeds into this field as I can, maybe then I won't have politicians or news media people. I don't care if it's Trump or Biden or all of the different narcissistic idiots that are fucking our country. All of these different influences that don't have your best interest in mind, that want to make you angry. They want to put information in your head. You only have so much bandwidth. You only have a field that is so large. Some people have like maybe 10 acres of field to grow and harvest crops in their mind. Some maybe have 2. You know what happens if you don't seed your field? Someone else will. Stupid people let people seed their fucking field. Never let someone seed their field. And to go back to your book point, be reading a book. Be finding a mentor. Be free thinking. Have fun. Have passion. Trigger your haters. That'll blow up your fucking brand. You want to know how you want to hear a fun story, how I saved the company?
Let's hear it.
So I bought a home building company, right, like 3 years ago. And man, it was a dog. Bad warranty, bad this, bad that, like everything. I bought a company that was dying. They were doing like 30 homes a year. That company now, 3 years later, we turned 4 in October, is going to pay me somewhere north of $25 million. If we fuck it up royally this year, say the economy crashes, we'll make 15. Like, can't live on it, but it's a good start, right? So 15 to $25 million. By the way, 3 years ago when I bought it, almost 4, because I guess October's close. We're going to be 4 in October, so almost 4 years ago now. They were losing $300,000 a year. It was such a bad company, I got paid $50,000 to take it. I later reimbursed the seller the amount of money he paid me. I love him. He's a great guy. Blessed, changed my life. Great person, right? Well, I couldn't sell the house. I got rid of all of their old plans. I redesigned the plans. I put amenities throughout the houses. I made them gorgeous. Nobody would walk in. You know why? The brand was so bad. Nobody wanted to buy this house because the brand, based on the previous 10 years, not what I was doing in the last year or whatever when I bought it, but in the previous 10 years, they'd done a bad job. They had not met the customer's needs. Man, realtors wouldn't show it. Buyers wouldn't buy it. And I literally sat there and I was like, how can I get people's attention? I was sitting in a river drinking Trulies. I meditate in water. That's where I meditate. And I'm like, how do I influence people? How do I get their attention? I know money follows attention. How do I get their attention? And I started writing things down. I was like, okay, what gets their attention? Okay, controversy. Okay, current events. Okay, emotions. You can trigger them. You can make them laugh. You can make them smile. You can talk fucking real. You can do all that shit, right? So human emotions, human or heartstrings or whatever. Right? How about sex appeal? You know what's sexy? The sexiest thing in the world. Everybody gets triggered by sex appeal. They're like, oh, you want people to walk around naked? No, smile, motherfucker. It's the sexiest thing. like literally. Like, sex appeal starts with a fucking smile. Like, hello.
Right.
You know? And so sex appeal is something people are attracted to. We like happy people more than sad people, right? And then there's another one. Tribe. Branding, call to action. Like, people want to be part of your tribe. If you do a badass fucking podcast, you know what people are going to want, Ryan? People are going to say, fuck, man, I want to watch that guy's podcast. I'm part of that guy's tribe. That guy's fucking amazing. He asks real questions. He gets real guests. Holy fuck, he's great. People want to try. They may even say, hey, I'm going to hire Ryan for coaching. This guy's awesome. Right? So, Brandon call to action. I gave all of them 20 points. I gave Brandon call to action 30 points. Total of 110 points. And I was like, you know what? If I hit 110 points, if I get more than 100, maybe it's like school. Maybe it's extra credit. What if we had a grading scale for marketing? Ooh, controversy, current events, human emotion, sex appeal, branding, call to action, or tribe. How many of you Apple users don't believe that? And don't lie to me, motherfuckers. All of you guys are cultists for Apple. We know you. Okay? Yes, there's tribes. We're tribal. That's what we do. Okay? So when we look at this branding, call to action shit, I was like, well, how do I leverage this? So you know what I did? I got a girl in a pretty red dress, and I asked her, hey, would you stand out front of one of my model homes? Hey, Lynette, will you go grab the sign in there for me? I want you to just read the sign. Here, you read it to your listeners. I put her in front of one of my beautiful model homes with my brand and call to action during Jeffrey Epstein's trial. And all I wanted them to do was come inside the home.
That's great.
And the sign says exactly what I wanted. And it was spelled right. It said, come inside me. I wasn't talking about the girl. Anybody that thought it was the girl is a fucking ridiculous person. Jeffrey Epstein was in the news. I mean,
right.
Events, right? So sex is always controversial. She was a pretty girl. It was a gorgeous house. It was sexy. Okay? So we had 20 out of 20 on sex appeal, 20 out of 20 on current events. 20 out of 20. Some people thought it was the funniest shit they ever saw. Some people were livid pissed. They were so fucking mad. You know who they were? The sexually repressed people. They're the people that made out with each other through their fucking masks during COVID. We all know them. We call them idiots, okay? They're like, hello. What the fuck is that? Okay? Like so humor and heartstrings, home run. 10 out of 10 on controversy. It was fucking fantastic. And brand and call to action. I mean, what did a builder want? I want him to come inside my house. Look around. See me like, dude, we sold 6 houses the next fucking day. Turned the company around. We blew up. We exploded. We figured out, how do we get attention? And you know what? Here's another real funny one. I know, everybody's like, well, I don't want to trigger the sexually repressed people. Why? They're miserable anyway.
You don't want them as customers anyway.
You don't want them. You literally don't want them as customers. You know what sexually repressed people are? Miserable. Like, if you're a human being and you don't like sex, you're fucking broken. Like, you do not want the broken ones. When you add more broken people to your machine, whatever your machine is, whatever your brand is, whatever your business is, whatever your podcast is, when you add the broken people who are always in pain no matter what the fucking situation, they make you broken. What did we say about losers and winners? When a winner talks about his day, the loser will always think he's bragging. Why would you hang out with them? Why bring the broken people in? They complain about everything. They're not even fun. You know what? Some of the most fun you can have is by being authentic and having real conversations. By the way, are you having fun in this conversation? Are we talking about shit that maybe isn't taboo?
I'm having a blast. I wouldn't rather be anywhere else right now, man. So digging into the business, what was in place aside from them basically paying you to take it? What made that deal enticing to you versus just starting from scratch on a different brand?
In my town, there's a lot of there's like 3 or 4 major land developers who own most of the dirt, right? And they like to deal with the established brands. So you could build your own company, but it takes a lot longer to get in and kind of do the politics and have the developers get to know you. I had done real estate brokerage for that builder for a long time. The developers knew me, so it was kind of a natural progression as he was retiring, and I was able to step in and take it. It was a right place, right time transaction. I live in a very stable market, El Paso, Texas. Real estate always sells. Like when the market crashes everywhere else, we're fine here. You know, I mean, like, we may dip 5%, everybody else dips 50%. We're like, hey, guys, move to El Paso. I mean, we all, like, look, us El Pasoans, we all drive to California in a bus. We vote for Gavin Newsom in California every time he's getting reelected. We're like, keep fucking up your state. We want you to send more people to Texas. God bless you, you dumb fucking governor. Thank you for doing things that hurt your population so they all come here and buy the houses we built.
That brings up a question I have of mine. You seem to have a pretty good pulse on what's going on in the world. How do you manage keeping up with everything going on in the world versus it like bringing you down and just kind of all the negative happening in the world, like influencing you in that way?
You know, a mentor I had a while back used to say these words, and I'll give him credit because he was amazing. Tony Robbins used to always say, "Don't watch how my lips move, watch how my feet have moved." And he was referencing himself in that moment to say, "Look, measure me by my credibility." And I mean, he's done a lot. But I like to take things that intelligent people say and not just place them on the context with which they gave them. I like to expand the context. What if instead of watching how somebody's lips move, you watched how their feet moved? What if you went and measured somebody's data, their information, their trends? I don't care what politicians say because they always lie. Like it's very rare to have a politician who's not either a liar or a narcissist. And normally they get thrown out pretty quick because they're not saying what all the little pamper pets want to hear, right? They won't tell the truth. They'll say, yes, we can indefinitely print money forever and everyone's going to be okay. Yes, we don't need to drill oil. We want the Green New Deal, okay? Because we have a battery power technology that's going to work? No. Like, look, even if you had enough solar and wind, you don't have battery power to store it. So, like, we can't do this. So our answer is, oh, we're going to go and beg every other dictator in the world to drill oil. Then we're going to put it on a big boat. Then we're going to pay tens of thousands of dollars to have it shipped here, spiking the cost on a boat that's pumping tons and tons of carbon into the air as it travels at thousands of miles across the ocean to get it here. Huh? Like, what level of fucking stupid do you have to be to believe that? Like, come on, please. Like, now, every country in Europe, for the most part, you know what they're doing? They're buying coal to power their coal plants, which had been previously decommissioned. You know why? Because Russia is threatening all of these dumb greenies with cutting off their oil. They're cleaning the Nord Stream pipeline. They're shutting things down. So all of these countries are buying the dirtiest energy production material on Earth. Coal is the worst thing we can do. We're literally going backwards by listening to the progressives that think going backwards could be progress. And the Republicans are no smarter. Like, we have the left-wing idiots in power right now. We'll have right-wing idiots soon. The pendulum swings from one type of stupid to another. And you're like, could we have common sense? Like we could just have common sense. So where do I get my information? Oh, man, I get it all over the place. But I watch how people's feet move. I watch their trends. Like, Biden was talking about shutting down the oil industry for years. He's been saying it for years. Okay? And then the popular vote would have definitely gone to Bernie Sanders if you were measuring, like, who the Democrats were going to pick during the election. And it was really interesting because when Bernie was a front runner, and I don't know what happened here, but something happened behind the scenes in a dark room. They pulled everybody aside and said, "Hey, Bernie, you can't win because Wall Street will crash. We can't put a card-carrying socialist in charge. Wall Street will crash. Hey, you know what we're going to do? We want you to go and just endorse Biden. You know, he's easy to control. He's a senior citizen. I don't mean to be crude here or rude, but it's true. The average age of death in America is 78 years old. It's not a good idea to elect a 78-year-old person if that's the average age that people fucking die. It's just not smart, okay? And yeah, I know we're not supposed to say things that might hurt people's feelings, but fuck your feelings. Please think. Please think. Have a fucking rational thought in your head and think, for God's sakes. So let's go get this easy-to-control guy. I don't even think he knows what's going on. He's literally, he reads the teleprompter when it says repeat line. He's like, this and this and this, repeat line, this and this and this. Oh, Jesus. I mean, even people on the left now are like, This guy's not cognitively aware. Like, so something weird happened where they took their front runner out and they put some other easy to control guy in. That easy to control guy had said he was going to go to war with big oil. Okay. Up until the last decade, the New York Stock Exchange, the top companies on the New York Stock Exchange had all been oil companies. Recently, they're data companies. But for the last, 100 years almost, it's been oil companies. What do you think they've done with those profits over 100 fucking years? They own all the banks. They own shitloads of real estate. They control the fucking country. These are the most powerful people on earth. You didn't predict that when you went after the most powerful people on earth, one fucking dumbass vegetable of a politician went after the most powerful people on earth and told them, I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to end you. I'm going to make Putin a pariah. I'm going to make Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia a pariah. I'm going after every oil drilling nation and all the oil companies. You didn't think gas prices were going to go up? You couldn't measure cause and effect? Like, you didn't see that one? Like, please. Like, if somebody really didn't see that one coming, they weren't paying attention because they were so triggered by the other idiot, because the other idiot, frankly, said too many things that hurt people's feelings. Well, maybe some of those people need to go put their fingers in their ears, get the virgin ears we talked about at the beginning. Don't get your feelings hurt. Don't elect morons. So watch how people's feet move in the last 10 years, and it's going to be a very good indicator of what they're going to do in the next 10 years. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, a lot. I'd actually like to tie this into family. You have 2 kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've been married a little over a year. Kids are probably about 2 years down the road, something I look very forward to. I was curious. We talked about if you aren't intentional about how you program yourself, somebody else is programming you. Yeah. So with the school program trying to preach gender studies and everything else, what are ways that you're protecting your kids, even if they're kind of too young to even really have to worry about that stuff right now?
I don't have my kids in public school. I don't have my kids in public school. Like, honestly, look, politics. Mm-hmm. Poly means multiple. Ticks means blood-sucking arachnids, man. Anything that those blood-sucking arachnids have their fingers in, their tentacles in, is not a good thing. Okay? Like, you look at what built this country to be amazing. What built this country to be amazing is small business, right? 50% of America works for small businesses. 50% of America works for big business or government, and the other 50 works for small business, meaning small business is the single largest employer. Find me a public school that teaches people entrepreneurship skills. They don't exist. They teach everybody how to get a job. What is a fucking job? And I teach my employees this. I tell my employees, look, if you want to go out and be my competitor, I want you to go have your fucking dreams. Like, I have employees sitting in this room listening right now, okay? A job is the amount of money you take to compromise on your fucking dreams. That's what it is. Now, some people don't want to take risks, don't want to do this, don't want to do that. That's fine. But at least tell them the fucking truth so they can choose. Like, my wife, she's the type of personality, like, she doesn't have to work, she's married to me. But if she wasn't married to me, she would have to go get a job. And she would get a job. She would never want to take a risk for a business. She would never want to go out and have that stress and work the 12, 18-hour days that are part of the process, at least in the beginning stages, right? She loves guitar. She loves art. She loves music. She loves creating spaces and design. She loves other things. A job would have been fine for her. But, I would want someone to be honest with her. I would want somebody to tell her, you can open a business or you can get a job. She would have picked job. Most people would. But why would we educate the people that wouldn't to pick a job? Why don't we tell people there are multiple roads? Like, you have road A, road B, road C. Here's the risks, here's the rewards. Here's the risks, here's the rewards. Here's the risks, here's the rewards. Like, it just doesn't seem that complex. Like, instead, we get behind some idea that's based on some absolute that some idiot made up, and we run with it like it's doctrine. Or religion. You know what a religion is, by the way? Most religion is not taught in churches these days. Okay? Religion is something you would kill or die for. So what's a religion? Oh, climate change? Oh, gender studies? Oh, political parties? You have more religion at political rallies than you do in churches these days. It's freaking despicable. At least the church is taught, love thy neighbor as thyself. I'm not saying they taught everything, right? Like, some of them probably screwed up royally too, right? Like, there's flaws in every part of everything, but at least they had some good messages. At least there was some forgiveness in the metrics. We don't have that anymore in our society. Like, we know givers gain, right?
Mhm.
So if givers gain, when forgive is what we should do with anyone that slighted us, reverse it. Give forth. Oh, wow. So you mean once you forgive, you release yourself, you release them, you start moving forward, you become more generous, you become a giver. We don't attract what we want in life, we attract what we are in life. You should forgive as often as you fucking shower. I'm not saying go to church, but go somewhere that teaches you about forgiveness. Maybe don't get a religion around climate change. I mean, I've seen people go religious about, like, diets. I've, seen, a keto diet person argue with a vegan person and want to kill each other by the end of the conversation. And I'm like, guys.
Or CrossFit.
Yes. People are so desperate for a tribe of people to fit into that they do it in ways that people pump information in their heads. They get them to blame. They get them to hate. They get them in fear. You can only drive this body in fear or faith. You know what fear does? It spikes cortisol. Cortisol is a great hormone. You know what it's supposed to do in your body? Wake you up in the morning. You know what it does do? Stresses you the fuck out if you use too much of it. Literally lowers your IQ. Makes you dumber. Makes you triggered. Makes you react. Makes you not choose your emotions. Suffer with anger. Suffer with pain. Suffer with depression. Nobody would choose those emotions. And if you were consciously aware, you could stop those emotions. You could say, hey, you know what? Instead of being scared, terrified even, having these butterflies in my stomach, these tingles down my spine, and wanting to run away, I'm going to think consciously about that. I'm going to find an opportunity in this. I'm going to switch it to excitement. And then you know what you get? It's really weird, Ryan. You get butterflies in your stomach and tingles down your spine, and you still feel like running just towards something. It's literally the reverse physiological effect of the body. Fear, excitement. Passion, you want to beat something to death. Oh, no, sorry. Anger, you want to beat something to death. Passion, you want to forge something. So reverse, but same physiological effects in the body. I'm a very passionate person. You know, back when I was a lot more immature, I used to get angry a lot. I love passion. It's a lot of fucking fun. When I didn't know how to get passion because I was not in my conscious mind, I was in my subconscious mind, I got angry a lot. So here's the question. And this is something to trigger your viewers. And viewers, if you're listening, I hope this gets Ryan shitloads of followers. But also I hope I trigger you and you come and follow me in my brand. If you're a hater, please comment. And if you have been made to think clearly and freely on any of the points I've made, I would love for you to comment that as well. That'd be fun. But if consciousness is what makes us human, and subconscious is where all the patterns are that drive the emotions that we wouldn't fucking choose, then is subconscious subhuman? If we're letting somebody else plant the crops in our field, are we getting fucking dumber because somebody else gave us what to think? Is there a device right here that is frequently giving you notifications? Look at all those notifications popping up that are spiking your dopamine, your serotonin, getting you excited, making you distracted, making you think, man, I can't focus on what's important. I can't spend time with my child. I can't spend time with my wife. I can't create passion for my loved ones. I better sit here and answer this email with this angry person who's arguing with me about abortion. And since we're both men and we're never going to have one, we should spend some time on it.
I'd love to talk about your tribe. You talk about your employees a lot and how you seem to put the right incentives in front of them to where they get the desired output for you and they win as well. Y'all recently had a professional development day where y'all went bowling and went to Top Golf. That looked like a lot of fun. You talk about measures, not managers. Can you just kind of expand on your views on company culture and how it's worked out for you and your businesses?
You know what? I'm going to give you a gift that's way better than that, okay?
Let's hear it.
If your viewers watch this, I'm not going to tell you about my tribe. I'll use some examples from my tribe.
Okay.
But I'll give you a way to build any tribe you want, anywhere you want it, anytime you want it, so that you can be a leader. Who's the first person a leader leads?
Himself.
Mm-hmm. Does money follow attention?
Mm-hmm.
Is a celebrity somebody we celebrate? Is that why celebrate and celebrity are similar words?
Mm-hmm.
So if you lead yourself, do you celebrate yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So the first person that must buy into everything I'm going to teach you on culture, which has 5 foundations. Here's a little document for all your viewers to watch and utilize and see, okay? These are the 5 foundations of culture. Okay? And with 5 foundations of culture, you can create any culture in the world. In fact, you can actually use this to see how people create evil cultures. Because culture is not always something beneficial. In fact, what's the first 4 letters in culture?
Cult.
Oh, fuck, you mean like religion? Is cult another word for religion? Oh, fuck, so like the climate change cult? Oh, the abortion cult? Look, there's cults in all ways. What does cult mean? Group identity. That's all cult means. We put a negative association to the trigger in the word. Okay? Cult means group identity. So what is the first foundation of culture? Safety. Number one thing people are looking for in a culture is safety, which means you as the leader must create safety. Now, anywhere where there's a paradox, there's truth. Can God create a rock so big that God cannot lift it, Ryan?
I don't think so.
But of course he could. But no,
Right.
he couldn't. But there's a paradox. What the
Right.
fuck? Okay.
Right.
So, how do we create safety? Over 40,000 years of human history, you know how we have learned to create safety? We got to be the most dangerous guy in the fucking room. We got to make sure that we are there to protect our people. They should never worry about whether they're getting their paycheck. They should never worry about whether you're going to deliver. They should never worry about if they're going to be able to feed their family. You create safety. They should feel great about going to work. They should feel safe that they're going to have friends there. A great leader is fucking dangerous. If somebody comes to compete with me, they ain't going to compete with me. I'm going to dominate them so fucking fast because I'm dangerous, and I'm going to protect my staff and make sure they always have gainful employment. In fact, let's play a game. Hey, Nanette, come over here. Come over here. Come over here. I just hired my new assistant, okay? She's an assistant. She's
Hey, Jeanette.
She's amazing. Nanette, how much money did you ask me for when I first hired you?
$30,000
A year, right?
a year.
So you know what I did, right? Because she's not an economist. She's a brilliant masseuse. She's run a business. She's a fantastic woman. She's hardworking. I mean, this girl's working. I see her emailing at 8 a.m., 8 p.m. Like she wanted it, right? When somebody asks you for a salary, are they really asking you for a salary, or are they asking you for a certain lifestyle? Do you think she's looking at her lifestyle now and measuring the economy and how it's changed over 24 months? No. So did I even tell you yes, or what did I say? I said hell no, right?
That's correct.
I gave her $40,000 immediately because that's what you are going to need. That's the same salary as $30,000 2 years ago. Okay, why?
Inflation.
And they say 8%, but in the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, they don't have food and groceries, they don't have fuel and energy, and they don't have construction materials, which directly relates to your house and your car. And those are the 3 leading expenses, the 3 largest expenses of an American family. Eating inflation wasn't 8%. It's another way that politicians lie. It was nearly 30. Okay, so if she wants 30 grand, she needs 40 grand because she's got to feed her family. Okay, and so she's asking me for a lifestyle. And I saw her versus every other candidate, and I said, I want her at my company because she's fucking amazing, or at least her resume said she was, and now she's proving it, right? And I said, so I'm going to give you 40 since you're asking for 30, but not only that, I'm going to give you bonuses and upside, which we give to all of our employees if you do a good job. Why? Because I don't want people to leave, because turnover is more expensive. But I'm only able to hire people and pay them more and do a better job for my staff, for my companies, because I'm dangerous. I'm not going to let someone shrink my market share. You come to take my market share, you brought a knife to a gunfight, baby. Like, it ain't going to work. I have more ability to measure, more data, more information than any of my competitors in any of my industries. And anytime I have a competitor that advances and gets data, I go get more data. I make sure that we have so much more information than everybody else that I can always be one step ahead of the curve. I get the best fucking people. I pay them better than anyone else. And I create safety. Do you worry about feeding your family?
No, sir.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay? So you got to create safety. That's one.
Yeah.
2, you must deliver quality. People want to know they work for a quality company. They want to know that the branded product is going to deliver upon the product promises made in the sales process. 3, you must clearly communicate your mission, your vision, your values. Ooh, let me go back to quality because I want to teach a truth here. What do you have to do if you don't have quality? Like, say you're a political party and you have nothing but a bunch of bullshit. You ain't got any good ideas, but you're mad at the other guys that are implementing bad ideas. You know what you need? You need some narrative and you need some spin. When you don't have quality, you got to go talk a lot of shit. All that stuff mom told you not to do about everyone else around you. So if you don't have quality, you revert to narrative. So when you find the shit talkers that talk shit and it's not true. Look, if you're going to talk shit and it's true, that's fine. That's just having conversation. And we should definitely talk about the stupid shit that stupid people do because maybe they'll hear it and stop doing it. Okay? But if you're being inauthentic, if you don't have a smarter thing to say than the stupid person, shut the fuck up. You're probably in good company when you're around stupid people. Right? So quality, the opposite of quality is narrative. If you see somebody using narrative instead of quality, run. Mission, vision, values is the next one. Mission, vision, values. If someone can't tell you your mission, your vision, your values with that company, what is the problem? What do we solve? Who is our customer? How do we serve them? Get to know your customer. Every customer is simple. Find out what they want. Go get that thing and give it to them. Wait a minute. There's 3 steps to getting anyone you want. By the way, for the men and the women out there that aren't married, if you want this perfect spouse, find out what they want. Go get it. Give it to them. It's not really about like anything other than who you might have to become or what you might have to deliver to them or how you might have to make them feel. Everybody makes emotional decisions. Okay? If she's looking for somebody that is like absolutely brilliant, can have great conversations, and you're the strong stoic type, maybe if you want her, go read a couple books on how to have good conversations because she doesn't care about the strong stoic type. Now, if she likes the strong stoic type, fuck, you're in. Find out what they want. Go get that. Give it to them. No different. Customers, dating, everything, right? Next one, production. And this is just a simple decision. Culture, it matters. Like my travel agency and event curation and coaching company, we work with 100 people. Like we have a very high net worth travel agency, okay, that we tour the world. We launched it during COVID, okay? And I think we have 80, 90 members. We're capping it at 100. It's a 2-year-old company. We're capping it at 100. We're almost full. We only invite people by referral. You have to know someone to get in. And we're almost bucket full. Like, I opened a travel agency during COVID. We decided to do tons of different things for very few people. Now, we've expanded it recently because a lot of people are like, we want the business content. We want the economics content. So we've added like a $5,000 course that anyone can take. They pay $5,000. They get an 8 weeks to financial freedom course. It's going to teach them how to move the needle in their business. But that's not the full thing. Like the full thing was just, it was a group I wanted to travel with. Amazing people. So mission, vision, values. Production. How many were we going to serve? How are we going to serve them? Our new program, we can serve 10,000 people on an 8-week course. This program, we will never serve more than 100, but we will serve them in many ways. And you have to decide that, and you build your team around that. It's a different employee serving 1,000 people than it is serving 100 people. There's a different level of service, right? What about tribal triggers? Like, I don't know if you can hear the background music that's going on. My office has sound systems. Like we can crank the music in a home builder's office and literally shake the floors. Like, it's a concrete and steel building, and we build houses. We're not a club, but we have a chef. We have a masseuse. We have margaritas at 5 p.m., and we have club music. Who is your tribe? How do you trigger them? Do you trigger them in good ways? Do you trigger them in bad ways? What if you triggered them in good ways? You know, you ever heard, like, drive somebody up the wall?
Mm-hmm.
What if there was a good way to drive them up the wall? Like, what if there was a way to figure out exactly what that person wanted? And the moment you hit that button, they just fell in love with you more and more and more and more and more because you were giving, serving. We have employees leave the company for a better opportunity. And there are sometimes better opportunities. Their uncle will hire them and pay them $100,000 a year. They were making $60,000 a year. We might have been higher than market, but I can't beat their uncle, right? Especially if he's a rich uncle. They're back in 6 months. You know why? Tribal triggers. We know how to bring play into the office. We know how to bring fun into the office. We have music. We have energy. We have high vibrating people. We always tell the truth. It's a fucking rule. If you're going to be politically correct, which means dishonest, Get the fuck out. We don't want you here. We have a sign in front of every model home. We reserve the right to refuse service to assholes. We don't have the come beside me sign anymore. We decided to be a little less controversial. Okay? But it has the same effect. You know what it does? If somebody walks in and they're triggered by the sign, they're like, you're not our customer. You don't fit here. We're developing a community. We're building a neighborhood of happy, fun people. We don't want assholes. I don't want to sell you a house if you're an asshole. You know why? Because you're going to fuck up the experience for your neighbors. And I'm going to deal with you and them for 10 years in a warranty. I want happy fucking people. You know what the likelihood something's going to go wrong on your warranty? 100%. Over 10 years? 100 fucking percent. I'm going to know you for 10 years. Why would I want assholes? If you are yelling and screaming at the girls in my office, I will fire you as a customer in 2 fucking seconds. Why? Because I have a nicer product than everybody else. It's easy to sell. I can sell it to anyone. And I don't want to deal with you yelling at my girls for 10 years. Like, if a faucet breaks, they break. We'll replace it. Shut the fuck up. If you're an asshole, go be an asshole to someone else. There's plenty of builders that need that. What if you created tribal triggers to identify who your customer was, who they weren't, who your team was, who they weren't, who your trades were, who they weren't, and then you rewarded it and compounded the rewards every time they added to it. You build a brand. Make sense?
Oh, that's wonderful. I love it. One of the favorite things that you say to me is have an amazing day on purpose. What are some ways that you make sure you have an amazing day every day?
Properly understand emotion. Like, negative emotions are not negative. They're indicators. I love anger. I love depression. I love sadness. I love fear. I love anxiety. I love peeved. I love all of them. Every negative emotional word I love. Because all of them are an indicator. They're like a check engine light on your car. They're an indicator. Hey, I should probably think about something. What's causing this? Don't stay there. When you're saying have an amazing day on purpose, the reason I love that line, are you living on purpose? What's the emotion you're experiencing? Right? Like, I've had like probably 4 cups of coffee today. I normally have like 1, but we just got bulletproof coffee here, and if you haven't had it, holy shit, Dave Asprey's amazing. That coffee is awesome. I drink like 4 hyperactive as fuck. Like, what's the emotion? It's passion. Right? I'm passionate as fuck today. I'm having fun in this. Now, if I was angry, it would be a completely different proposition. You'd be like, I'm not even having fun. This guy's a complete dick. Some people might think I'm a dick because I'm passionate. They're sitting there in their mother's basement right now like, how can he have so much energy? Like, there's Tiggers in life and there's Eeyores in life, right? We want to be the Tigger. We want to be like bouncing on our tail, like, you know, have a good time. Like, Eeyore, like the dog, he's like, hey, God. No! Like, what's the emotion you're having? So when you're living on purpose, here's a simple question. Like, step into yourself, look at the emotion you're feeling right now. Everyone is feeling an emotion, which is a mix of biochemicals in their body, all day long. Like, what's your emotion right now? Are you in curiosity? Are you in like a little bit of shock because I'm louder and more controversial and a little more crazy than you thought? Like, are you entertained? Like, what's the emotion you're feeling right now, Ryan?
All 3 of those are exactly what I had in my mind. Curiosity was the first one I was thinking.
Right? And so those are wonderful emotions. Now, what happens if, say, I said something that triggers you? Well, at that point, like if I say something that triggers you, you should be able to be like, okay, why is it triggering me? Mm-hmm. It put me in a different state. There's some pattern or programming in my mind and my body, like what made human beings the dominant species on the planet? Our ability to master patterns. Dude, like, I have seen women driving in the car, and they're like literally putting on makeup. They're on the cell phone. They're handing something to their children. They're driving a car that is like, I don't even know how many thousands of pounds going down the highway at 50, 60, 90 miles an hour, whatever. It's fucking terrifying. And then the same thing, they're just shaving, not putting on makeup. Well, these days, some of them are putting on makeup, right? So, I mean, it's just like, wow. Like, we are able to multitask. We are pattern-oriented motherfuckers. When you get, and I don't want to offend the women, some of y'all are father fuckers, okay? And some of y'all are just fuckers. Good for all of you. Now that I've included everyone, okay? And if you're not a fucker yet, hey, you know, good for you. But when you're in a pattern that triggers an emotion, that's a negative one you're not enjoying, find out where it's coming from. Find out what it is. Then go in and start solving for that. Be like, why would I be frustrated? Why would I be in fear? Why would I have anxiety? Like, if you're in curiosity, isn't it kind of a fun place? And you're like, okay, this motherfucker's crazy. Like, why does he talk this way? Does he talk this way all the fucking time? Uh-huh. And you know what? I scare away weak people. I don't even like weak people. Like, if you are weak, somebody told you, oh, you need to be humble. Shut the fuck up. Be humble. That is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. I want you to be humble. I want you to be quiet. I want you to not make sound. Be seen, not heard. In fact, don't even be seen. Shut the fuck up. Vote for me. Put me in power. Be humble. Money follows attention, motherfucker. Do not be humble. Get loud as fuck. Loud as fuck. And if you're delivering an authentic, loving, kind message that's going to help somebody, get louder. Because the more attention you have, the more you're going to move the world. If you have no attention, you have no impact on anyone. Like, even if you don't care about money. Like, some people are like, I don't care about money. I don't want attention. Fine. Do you care about people? Oh, good. I'm glad you're heart-centered. Do you want to impact people? Don't be quiet. Like, I don't care if you go one-on-one and be loud, or if you go, like, talk in front of a room of 1,000 people, or if you do a podcast and get that shit out there, be fucking loud. Help some people in a way that moves the needle for you. Like, and if you're having a negative emotion, figure out where it's coming from. Because there's probably a wound in there somewhere, based on a pattern in there somewhere, that when you turn that shit into a scar, you meet a new need. You stop living out of needs. You start living out of want. If you need your wife, you need a divorce. If you need your pain, you need to find a way to new emotions, because pain sucks. There's pain and pleasure. We should spend a little more time in pleasure. Does that make sense, kind of?
Yeah, you're saying so much that I needed to hear, and I'm just happy you're saying. I think it's going to be really useful for my listeners. I appreciate you saying all this. I know I've taken up a good bit of your time. I just kind of want to hit you with a couple rapid-fire questions, and we can wrap it up. So you've said life isn't about becoming anything as much as it is about unbecoming everything that isn't really you. What are some things that you've had to unbecome to get to where you are today?
Oh, shit. I've had to unbecome identities.
Yeah.
Okay? Like we live in a world where there's identity politics, there's identity pressure, there's identity blame, there's identity this. In the yogic culture, in the Indian culture, it's such a smart culture. They don't believe in education for people with what they call limited identity. Your identity is not just who you think you are, it's who you're stuck being. It's your cage. It's your prison. And look, there's nothing wrong with having that castle and those walls that can keep people out, but build yourself a fucking drawbridge. If you have no exposure to the outside world, because there's so many wounds, that you have no ability to be authentic with other people, then you also have no credibility. Vulnerability and authenticity equal credibility. Electricity and authenticity are the two greatest powers in the universe. One powers the lights over our head, and even, frankly, our ability to move arms and legs, right? Like, if I don't get electrical impulses from my brain to my arms and my legs, I don't move them, right? Well, authenticity. Like, if I stood up here and I was like, I'm going to answer every question with a question. I'm going to be really politically correct. I'm going to talk monotone. You wouldn't use the podcast. You would, like, literally take this podcast and throw it in the trash, and you'd be like, that's another boring fucking sheeple. Be a people. Be an individual. It's okay. Like, you could still be a tribe. And you know when people are going to celebrate you? When you celebrate you. When you're authentic. When you fall in love with you. When you get out of limited identity and you start understanding others, even where they're at. Like, look, I don't like stupid people. I stay away from them, but I at least understand them. I know what's going on. They're not planting their own crops. They are letting some other device or person or influencer put information in. It's bad information. And they're harvesting that shit. And hopefully they have enough pain to where they eventually get out of that. Or maybe they listen to this podcast and they say, maybe that guy makes some sense. I hate him, I'm mad at him, but maybe I'll listen, maybe I'll try it. And you know what? I challenge you. If you're a stupid person that's in lots of pain, prove me right or prove me wrong. You'll fucking thank me later. So, if they start questioning everything, if they get out of limited identity and they say, hey, I'm going to do what the oceans do. I'm going to be wise enough to sit underneath so that I can understand all other bodies of water and how they flow. When you sit underneath, you become gravitational. And everything flows into you. The oceans are the loudest bodies of water on the planet. Tsunamis don't happen in lakes or rivers or streams. Everything flows into the ocean. If you think, be humble, be quiet, no. Be a fucking ocean. Be large. Be loud. Support life. Give. Sit underneath. Understand, or reverse it, stand under so that that can flow into you. Get rid of your limited identity. Like, my Republican friends, and they have their religion. They're all like, ooh, guns, my guns, my guns. I'm like, look, dude, can we please have, really a rational conversation about whether assault weapons should be in the hands of 18-year-olds? Like, we don't give alcohol to 18-year-olds. I'm not against having a conversation about it. Like, look, I'm not saying the answer is no. I'm not saying the answer is yes. I would like a lot of people to have a public conversation so I could hear all points of view. And I think most people are like that, too. Like, unless they're so triggered and so stupid that they can't listen or can't think, and you only have to hear what they fucking say. Those are called robots, by the way. That's a programmed computer that has no ability to think. And those are boring people. So, if you remove your limited identity and ask for a real conversation, whereas Democrats are like, take away all guns. I'm like, well, that's not smart either. Because, the guy that was shot in Japan, the former prime minister, he was killed by a homemade gun. So if you take all of the guns away from the legal citizens, wait, what happens? Criminals will get them anyway. There's always a black market. Thinking there's not is just stupid. Okay? But then you actually see things for what they are. Get rid of your identities is the point. If you have an identity, that's just one of your identities. I am not the same guy right now with you that I'm going to go be with my kids at home tonight. I cuss a little less. Okay? I'm not the same guy with you right now that I'm going to be if I'm reprimanding an employee. It's actually close. It's kind of fun. But I'm not going to be the same guy with you that I am when I'm having intimacy with my wife. Can you imagine, fuck yeah, let's go, come on, man. No, I'm not going to do that shit. You have different identities. That's okay. Don't get locked into a fucking cage. Get out of all the cages. And don't be just a human being. Be a human becoming. If I'm coming to visit with you, I'm on a journey. You're on a journey. None of us make it out of this shit alive. We're going to have some problems on the way. The problems are probably teaching moments. They're really good opportunities if you identify them, solve them, fall in love with them. They call it fall because it's not a controlled landing. You might just find some real fucking truth that will set you free, that will give you a new life, and then you can have that life you watch on TV instead of watching it on TV when somebody else is living it.
And in the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Curiosity and acceptance. I make sure I'm having fun with everything. Have fun. I met this guy up in Ruidoso. It's a little mountain town. And this guy was like this crazy, liberal hippie. He was crazy. And I'm political, I guess, because it affects everything, right? So I'll watch it, but I'm an independent. I voted left, I voted right. Right now I'm leaning more right because left no longer means left. It means woke and stupid. I'm falling in love with Bill Maher because I'm like, please tell them more. It's great. So I probably lean a little conservative. So this guy and I disagreed on stuff, right? Especially fiscal issues. Fiscally, I'm conservative. Socially, I'm kind of liberal. I like the left normally because they're the party that's nice. They're not nice anymore. I'm kind of mad at them for that, right? But he was this nice, loving hippie. We hugged when we ended the conversation. We had the coolest conversation. We disagreed on fucking everything. And he just sat there and was like, man, I really love that thought, man. I don't agree with it, but I love it because I want to know your story and where you got it. And I was like, you're a genius.
Are you a real person right now?
I literally told him, I was like, you're a fucking genius. Because normally, when somebody has a view that makes no sense, I'm like, all right, yeah, you're irrational. But this guy wanted the stories with people. He was the true progressive. And progressive starts with progress, not woke, liberal, hateful bullshit, right? And he just wanted to hear the stories. He wanted to hear the journey. He wanted to find out where it came from. He was open. And look, he didn't change many of his views, and I didn't change many of mine, but it was a really beautiful conversation. And it was so fun because he didn't have an identity of attachment to a party. He had his beliefs, which he liked. And he would really like to find a way to make them work. And he wasn't sure how. But he had faith that there was probably a way. And you can't really even argue that. Okay? Even if you disagree that it'll work today, when somebody says, well, man, I have some faith that, there's got to be a way, and I really want to push for it. You're like, yeah, some common sense. I was like, I love you. And, he triggered me in a beautiful way where I was starting to ask him, I was like, well, hey, bro, I completely disagree with you, but I want to hear the story of where yours came from. And we were like heart to heart, and it was fun to go back to fun. Have fun. What are the things that made people different, or what should unite us instead of divide us? Ooh. What if that thing that challenged you or triggered you before, what if there was a lot of wisdom in it? What if there was wisdom that came from a different place that wasn't necessarily wrong, it was just different? That's okay. Like if you judge somebody because they believe in guns, or they believe in abortion, or or whatever the fucking current topic is, or they wear masks, or this or that. There's a belief. There's a belief. If somebody was wearing a mask, even though I know it doesn't work, I know the science, 1 micron, 4 microns, come on, I know it doesn't work. But if they're wearing a mask in fear, what if they lost a loved one? Should you go tell them to take it off? No, don't be a fucking dick. If they lost a loved one and they're in fear and they're believing the news, they're in fear. Don't be an asshole. There's no need. Right? Now, if they're getting in your face and yelling, you have a social distancing conversation, maybe slap the motherfucker. Because, if they believe in masks and they get in your face and they break your social distancing lines, I think you have the right to smack them because they're a hypocrite in many ways. And some people need to be punched in the fucking face. Right? But have fun with it. Match their state, match their energy. Have fun, man. I have fun. I get curious. I want to know everybody's model of the world. And then I want to share mine. Fuck, the problem with getting really rich?
What's that?
You're like, what the fuck do I do now? What's my purpose now? How do I go and move the world? How do I go move the needle? Man, I wasn't even on social media 2 years ago. You know what I'm doing now? I'm getting on social media. I'm building a brand. I'm giving away business advice, and I'm doing it for free so I can at least help people solve the finance issues. Dude, people are in pain. Faith, family, fitness, finance, all of them. They're in pain, all of them. I know finance. I don't know the other three as well. I have some stuff on it because I've lived it and worked on me. But I'm no guru in faith or fitness or family. Go to the teachers that study that shit for 30 years, 40 years. They know that shit. I know finance. I'm a 40-year-old guy that literally could sell his companies today, probably get somewhere between $150 and $250 million, walk and never do anything again. I will never do that because according to insurance companies, retirement means death in 2 years if you're male. So men, retirement's out. Don't do that. Destination equals death. But now I'm man, maybe I can give back some business content. Maybe I can help people learn how to measure cause effect. Maybe I can get loud and have fun fucking playing with the internet. Maybe I can trigger some losers that get triggered about everything and have some fun watching their comments, knowing that they're probably in the same place that I might have been in 20 years ago when I was getting triggered by people that said common sense things and I had to learn. And eventually I got in enough pain that I did fucking learn. So guys, if you're triggered easily, I wish you tons of pain. I'm sorry if you have it. I don't want you to go through it, but you probably have to.
To answer another question I have, one last question for you, and we'll wrap it up. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere in the world that would potentially get the message out to 1 billion people, what would it say on it? And put another way, do you have a favorite quote?
Complexity is seductive, not productive. Productivity gets you paid. Seductivity gets you fucked. Have that in your marriage, not your business. That's my favorite quote. It rolled out of my mouth one day. I don't know where the fuck it came from. I don't know what inspired it, but somebody wrote it down and they're like, this is a Prestonism. And I was like, I never heard the word Prestonism before. I was like, that's cool. So now it's my favorite quote because somebody called it a Prestonism. So they fed my ego. But yeah, man, what would the billboard be? Probably that. Simplify things, man. If your marriage is not happy, find out what the customer wants. The customer might be the husband or the wife, right? Go get that and give it to them. I know, tit for tat. Well, they didn't do this for me. They didn't do this for me. You can switch tit for tat up. You can start giving them more, and you just go start serving them. Because we know givers gain. Okay? Givers gain. You know, if you question whether they deserve, think about this. Deserve. Here's a paradox for you. Why do the Christians believe that Christ came? Because we didn't deserve. So why did Christ come? So that we could deserve. Oh shit, so the word deserve is always a paradox. If you're questioning whether somebody's deserving, they are deserving. And so what you should be, if they are deserving, is in service. The difference between a leader and a manipulator is the manipulator does not give a shit about you, and they want to influence you. The leader does give a shit about you, and they also want to influence you. One has your best interest in mind and one doesn't. The only difference is one gives a shit about you. One loves you and cares about you, right? So, God, what would the fucking billboards say? I mean, remove complexity and be in service, man. Like, be in service of others. You attract what you are. When you're a giver, you will fucking receive more than you ever asked for. You want to make God laugh? Tell her your plans. You're never going to get what you want. You're going to get what you are. When you become a giver, like I called a banker this morning and I was like, hey man, I got a question. I want to do this. I want to do this. You've done so much for me. I don't even want to ask you, but who should I call and ask? And he was like, no man, I got you. I'm going to do that. I'll have the paperwork drawn up today. And it was several $1 million in a line for acquisitions that we're doing, like unsecured credit facility. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, and he was just a beautiful guy. And I wasn't even asking. I was asking for advice because he'd done so much for me. And I was like, look, you've been a guy that's helped me a ton. I want your advice. And he was like, no, I want to do it for you. And then at the moment that you're in service, because I've been in service to him, I refer him clients. Like, he's one of the best bankers I've ever dealt with. I've got two that I absolutely love. And if you're in El Paso, message me and I will send you these two. They're phenomenal bankers. And this guy's one of them, right? So, and he's just like, nah, man, look, you're sending me customers. You're doing this. Like, I want to do it. Like, I want to do it. Look, it might stretch me, but I'm going to do it because I'm going to take care of you. So if you're always giving, people are going to want to give back. They're going to want to transfer action or transact with you, even if you didn't ask. So as you're giving, you'll start receiving more. You attract what you are.
I think we can end it there. That was so good, Preston. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I got a lot to go back and unpack, and I'm going to cut this up into probably a dozen different clips because there's so many gems in here. I appreciate you sharing it. I hope you pissed some people off enough to where they take some action and make some progress in their own life. I hope it woke some people up, man. This has been a pleasure of mine. Thank you so much.
Awesome, man. You have an amazing day on purpose, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you. One last thing. Where can people find you? What kind of message do you want to get out on your own behalf?
You know, I mean, find me on my social medias at the Preston Brown.
Okay.
Follow me there. Free business content for everyone. You know, I triggered some idiot the other day. I said the gym should be free, and if you want to pay, you pay for the personal trainer. And by the way, it was a long conversation. If that idiot's watching this podcast, I was talking about outside is an easy gym. You could lift a rock. You could run outside. Get triggered for better reasons, dumbass. But I mean, like, look, anyone can go on a jog. It's free. If you want a trainer, you pay. I give away all of the information so that you can go work that business muscle and become successful and free. Follow me at the Preston Brown. Any of the social medias, that's it. And we'll give it to you. And then, of course, some of you guys that want coaching, we do have programs. We have a $500 a month one, and we have a $5,000 8-week program. That's the one I recommend everybody start with because it's going to give you what you need to buy, scale, or launch a company anytime, anywhere, in any economy.
Good shit. Thank you so much, Preston. You have a good rest of your day, brother.
You too.
Let's do it again sometime. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Bye.